Hi folks, I'm back, and Tobs Talk is back. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly, and because I'm back, that means that the Tobs must have won, and it means that Pat Logan's hair here must be doing its trick. Ugh. Anyways, we're going to send that out to Locks of Love after the season is over, but we're going to have to wait at least 2 more games as the Tobs swept the Edenton Steamers in round 1 of the CPL playoffs. How'd they do it? Well, in game 1, the Tobs won 7-6 at home at historic Fleming Stadium. They scored 2 runs in the bottom of the first inning, and the pitcher for the Tobs, Christian Slasnick, was really rolling. In fact, he did not allow a single base runner until the top of the 3rd inning, when with 1 out, Nick Kranick ended that streak in a pretty big way, launching a solo shot over the right field wall and cutting the deficit in half at 2-1. The score would stay 2-1 until the top of the 6th inning, when Slasnick started to tire. He actually had the bases loaded with 1 out and allowed a run to come home. And that was the end of his night, a 2-2 ball game with 2 outs in the top of the 6th inning. And that is when head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, called on Cameron Langfelds to try to get out of the sticky situation. And he did just that with a strikeout, ending the inning with the bases loaded to the number 9 batter for the Edenton Steamers. The Tobs rewarded that a couple of innings later when, in the bottom of the 7th inning, they scored 3 runs off of the reliever Alex Posey for the Steamers. The big hit coming off of the bat of who else? Ben Schmucker with 2 outs. He hit a double just inside the 3rd baseline, driving home 2 runs and giving the Tobs at that time a 5-2 lead. The Tobs would tack on 2 more runs in the bottom of the 8th inning, the 7th run coming home on an check swing off of the bat of Seth LaRue, and it seemed like that was just going to be some insurance runs and everything was going to go fine, as Cameron Langfelds was really just motoring through the Steamers lineup. However, in the top of the 9th inning, the Steamers showed why they were the first half champions in the Coastal Plain League. They ended up scoring 4 runs, and it was a really hairy situation as Langfelds was finally pulled from the game when the score was 7-5 with runners at 1st and 3rd and 1 out. Braden Bristow, who had been starting for the past month or so for the Tobs, was called on to close. Bristow came on, he struck the first batter out, but then the next guy singled to right field, making it a 7-6 game with runners on 1st and 2nd and 2 outs, and then Michael Perez came to the plate and on a 1-1 count launched a fly ball to deep right field. Ben Schmucker went back to the warning track and 1 step in front of the wall was able to grab it for the final out of the game, giving the Tobs the 7-6 Game 1 victory. Then the Tobs went to Edenton, and it was pretty much the same game, just flip-flopped the teams, as the Edenton Steamers scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 1st inning before the Tobs were able to cut the deficit in half in the 2nd inning, thanks to a Drew Cole double followed by a Matt Rubino single right back up the middle, 2-1 ball game. Then in the next inning for the Tobs, they had that 2-1 deficit. They were able to load the bases, and with 1 swing of the bat, Collins' cue throw, well, he broke out the rye bread. It was grand salami time. Rest in peace, Dave Niehaus. He launched a grand slam over the left field wall, an absolute no-doubter. Manny Arciniega, the starting pitcher for the Steamers, he just threw a shot right down the heart of the plate about belt high, and cue throw showed off his tremendous power. This ball cleared the wall by about 75-80 feet. A no-doubter. Tobs had the 5-2 lead. They tacked on another run in the 4th inning, making it a 6-2 lead, but the Steamers, much like the previous night, came right back. They scored a run in the bottom of the 4th inning, and then in the bottom of the 5th inning, the starter for the Tobs, Ryan Mintier, who had been pitching very well, started to get squeezed like a freshly picked Florida orange juice, and the strike zone just got smaller and smaller and smaller until pretty much everything he threw, it wasn't a strike. A couple of pitches, which really, folks, and this isn't your home broadcaster saying it, they were right down the middle of the plate, called strike 3. No, it was called a ball, to the point where the Edenton Steamers, when walking down first base, turned their heads to the first base dugout, which the Tobs were occupying, and said, "That was strike 3, he just didn't call it." The Steamers ended up scoring 3 runs, tying the game at 6-6. Each team scored a run in the 7th inning, and then it went to the 9th inning when the Tobs, thanks to Adam Pate just doing what he always does, he got on base, made his way around towards 3rd. Tobs had guys on 1st and 3rd. A ground ball from Collins, cue throw up the middle. It was stopped by the 2nd baseman Ryan Roslowski, but he bobbled the ball, couldn't pick it up. Pinch runner Jake Armstrong slid into 2nd, and he just beat the tag as Roslowski tried to put the glove on the bag, but it was too late. Pate scored from third base, giving the Tobs an 8-7 lead, and then the reigning 919 Marketing CPL Pitcher of the Week, Quinn Atwood, came on to close, and he did just that, retiring the side in order. Kenny Hostrander, in his final game for the Tobs this summer, made a very nice play on a ground ball deep in the hole between first and second, ranging well into right field, gobbling it up, spinning, tossing, and making the throw to first base, getting the leadoff batter, and that really calmed things down. Atwood, as I mentioned, retired the next two guys, and the Tobs won the game 8-7, sweeping the Edenton Steamers 2-0, and more importantly, it pushed the Tobs into the second round of the playoffs. It's actually the first ever series win for the Tobs in the CPL playoffs. They do have playoff wins, but it's the first time that the Tobs have won a series since the CPL went into the playoff format in series as opposed to elimination games. So the first ever playoff series win for the Wilson Tobs. Winning pitcher in Game 2 was John Allen, pitching a scoreless bottom of the 8th inning. Quinn Atwood picked up the win. The winning pitcher in Game 1 was Cameron Langfelds, with Braden Bristow picking up the save. Bristow, though, is done. Kenny Hostrander is done. The Tobs really just holding on to the final 15, 20 guys or so, trying to see what they can do. And they will have a very tough opponent in round number 2, the Peninsula Pilots, and we'll talk about that more when we come back on this edition of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris, with our head coach, Justin Hay. And welcome back to this beautifully coordinated playoff edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and the guy next to me wearing the same shirt as I am right now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. And Justin, it has to feel good getting the team through the first round of the playoffs. It's the first ever playoff series win for the Wilson Tobs, and there were a couple of really hairy moments in that first round series, both in Game 1 at Fleming and Game 2 on the road. What do you say to the ball club in situations like that to try to calm the team down?
Well, it was actually pretty easy to handle those situations. You just let the guys play. As we talked about in the clubhouse, we just wanted to go out and try to relax and have fun. These guys are using this situation right now to kind of get used to these situations and take it back to school ball with them. So when they're chasing a championship in the spring, they've been there, they've done that, they've faced the pressure. I kind of challenged them just to relax and just let the game happen and see where it is. And they did a great job of that. I think that's one thing that helped us out during the series, is that we never panicked. They mounted comebacks in both games. We had to come back. We had to scratch more runs. We had to get good pitching performances. But nobody ever panicked. We just were calm, relaxed, and just let the game come to us. And I think that really helped us out, and it's really going to help them as they go back to their respective colleges. And we were talking a little bit back off air about how just good of a group of guys this is. Does that make your job easier? Oh yeah, they've made it easy on me all year. I think I told you earlier, coaches lose games, players win games. They've done a great job this year, because all I can do is put them in the right situation. I can't go out there and get the hit or make the pitch. So it really all comes down to them. I've probably made some decisions that's hurt us and not put us in the right position this year, but I've definitely haven't gone out there and got the game-winning hit at all this year. So, they've made my job extremely easy because they've battled. They've never given up on me. They've always been willing to come out, do extra, work harder. It's really shown in the way we've played this year. I know we've never had that peak of success, but we've never had that valley of defeat this year. And it's been really nice, and it all goes back to the guys. And one of the guys that's playing really well as of late, a guy that hit a grand slam in game number 2, a guy that you're very familiar with, Collins Cuthro from Barton College. When you pulled him at the tail end of the season, did you expect this kind of production out of him, both at the plate and in the field? Yes and no. Collins has been in this league now for 3 years. He's played with us at Barton College for 4 years. But he was coming off a hand injury. I knew he was capable of it, but I knew he hadn't seen pitching since February, and I knew it was going to be hard for him to get back in the swing, or so I thought. But he jumped right back in and hasn't missed a beat, and it's been really, really well done for his part. I just could have never expected that. And another guy that's playing well is Matt Rubino, a guy who's really locked down the defense behind the plate, anchoring the defense for the Tobs, doing a great job behind the plate, but also offensively. What has he done that's turned around his season? I think for Matt, it was just getting out there and grinding. He didn't get the number of bats he wanted this year at Carolina, and it just was a little rusty when he got to us. And I think maybe at times he needed to just relax and have fun. I think baseball had kind of become something that he needed to remember that it was just a game, and he was pressing a little bit when he first got here. He wanted to prove to everybody that he deserved to be here. And once he relaxed, everybody realized that he is supposed to be here. He is a very good baseball player, and just the at-bats and him relaxing has really helped him.
The opponent for round 2, the Peninsula Pilots, the #1 overall seed in the Coastal Plain League. If there's one thing that you think the Tobs do better than them, what would you say it is?
I think we find ways to win. I think that's helped us every time we've played them, every time we've beat them this year. It's because we found a way to take advantage of something they did or get in their bullpen, because they do have a great pitching staff. I mean, there's a reason they're the #1 seed. They're a very good overall team. They do all aspects of the game well. And they're a team that when they do mess up, you have to take advantage of it. And, the times we've beat them, that's what we've done. The times we've lost to them, we weren't able to either create that mistake or we weren't able to take advantage of their mistake. So, but I think we've got a pretty good record against them this year, and I feel like we've got a chance to go out and have a good series with them.
Yeah, Tobs have won 3 out of the 8 games against the Peninsula Pilots, 1-2 in 1-run games, but 2-0 in 2-run games, and we'll see if the Tobs can get 2 victories out of the next 3 games against the Peninsula Pilots and move on to the Petitt Cup Finals. Justin, as always, thank you so much for coming in here to Tobs Talk. When we come back on this edition of Tobs Talk, we'll wrap things up. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, Tobs fan, to the playoff edition of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly, and the Tobs, their second round opponent is the #1 overall seed in the Coastal Plain League, the Peninsula Pilots, the #1 seed in the East, and also the team with the best record overall this summer in the Coastal Plain League. The two teams played 8 games this summer. The Tobs took 3 out of those 8 games. They actually played a bunch of close games, with the Tobs going 1-2 in 1-run games, but they went 2-0 in 2-run games, and so we'll see if the Tobs can kind of continue that streak of winning these close games. Of course, they won both of their games in the first round of the CPL playoffs against the Edenton Steamers by 1 run, 7-6 and 8-7. This Pilots team has some very good pitching, very good bullpen pitching as well. Alex Close, the reigning home run derby champion, is a part of the Peninsula Pilots roster, and we'll see if the Tobs, and especially the pitcher for tonight's game, Quinn Atwood, can kind of calm down that very deadly Peninsula Pilots batting lineup. And the thing with them is, they don't kind of go at you all the time throughout the game. But what they do is they will tack on runs real quick. And the Tobs, that's kind of been their problem so far this summer. It's the big inning. And we'll see if the Tobs can kind of cut down on that big inning. And remember, folks, it's a best-of-3 series against the Peninsula Pilots, the #1 overall seed. The Tobs need all the luck that they can get, and thankfully, the Tobs have these wonderful locks of Pat Logan, which we will donate to Locks of Love after the season is over, but hopefully it's not for at least another 5 games or so, as the Tobs look to take Game 1 of the best-of-3 series against the Peninsula Pilots this afternoon at historic Fleming Stadium. Gates open at 4 o'clock for the scheduled 5:05 first pitch. Yes, the skies are a little bit ominous right now here in Wilson, North Carolina, but at the same time, you folks have seen it. It's very hard for us to get those rainouts for some reason. It seems like historic Fleming Stadium kind of buffers all that rain, and so the game time scheduled for 5:05, first pitch scheduled for 5:05, gates opening at 4 o'clock. Tonight's game, Game 1 of a best-of-3 series to figure out who will be crowned the East Division champion in the Coastal Plain League, Tobs versus the #1 overall seed Peninsula Pilots at historic Fleming Stadium. And folks, I'd like to say thank you to Justin Hay for coming in, as he has done pretty much all summer long, to these editions of Tobs Talk. I really want to thank him. I would like to thank Jerry Stansel from Greenlight, as well as Mike Kearney, and of course our producer Dave Bumgarner, for being able to put on Tobs Talk, and for me to do what I like to do so much, folks, which is, well, talk about baseball. So thank you to everybody who has tuned in so far this summer. And hey, if the Tobs keep winning, well, we'll have one more edition, and I'll say all this entire spiel yet again. Well, folks, hopefully I'll see you at Fleming this afternoon. First pitch, 5:05, gates opening at 4 o'clock. Tobs and Pilots for the East Division crown.